It is deja vu all over again.
This is unfortunately not the first time that we've seen this type of event.
Another fish kill in Biscayne Bay, the fourth in as many years.
We're devastated to see these reports, certainly this early in the rainy season.
Since Saturday, upwards of 2,000 fish have been seen floating on the surface of northern Biscayne Bay from Morningside to North Bay Village all the way up to 95th Street, following the torrential rains that submerged South Florida last week.
We're seeing very low salinity, which is unusual, which tells us that there was a significant amount of fresh water flowing into the bay.
The two hotspots, conspicuous triggers of past events, the Biscayne Canal and the Little River, two of the dirtiest bodies of water in all Miami-Dade, overflowing with stormwater since June 11th. This graph shows the flows from the Little River at rates of over 2,000 cubic feet per second since Thursday.
Floodwater is extremely contaminated. It has sewage in it potentially, septic tank effluent, contamination from chemicals, pet waste, debris. It has all this stuff floating around in it, and it's all eventually draining into Biscayne Bay and into the canals that lead to the bay.
Dangerous, nutrient-loaded water with critically low oxygen levels.
We are seeing anoxic conditions, correct?
Correct.
That's why so far it's primarily been toadfish that have been affected.
So those are our bottom-dwelling fish, where we mostly see the lowest values of dissolved oxygen.
Another blow to fragile Biscayne Bay, no longer resilient enough to be able to withstand the effects of so much water coming in so fast, worrying scientists because these no-name storms are becoming more intense and happening more often.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more frequent catastrophic rain events in South Florida, and really the underlying root cause of that is climate change.
In fact, as our planet continues to heat up, climatologists warn this can become the norm. The warmer the air, the more moisture that can be held by the atmosphere.
For every degree Celsius, the atmosphere can hold 7% more moisture. And if all of that excess moisture falls, the volume or depth of rainfall could be higher in the future. And that is what we expect.
Dr. Gianto Besekera is the head of FIU's Sea Level Solutions Center. He says South Florida has accumulated about 7 to 9 inches of sea level rise in the past 30 years. But what's concerning is that most of it happened in the last 5 to 10 years, meaning it's accelerating.
And when the sea is rising, all that extra water, extra pressure will force the groundwater levels to be elevated.
That's because our bedrock is made up of porous limestone. That means our water table is already high even before a storm hits. And that, combined with the intensification of rainfall, Besekera says, is causing the compound flooding we're experiencing.
So I call it a triple whammy. All of them act together to make flooding worse. And I think that's what's going on in our region.
The rain was pounding so hard that we knew that the city was going to flood in a matter of hours.
Yokarditi Rocha is the executive director of the Clio Institute and works to build climate resiliency and drive climate action. She calls these events unnatural disasters, exacerbated by a warming climate.
We need to understand that these events are anything but normal. These rainbow events are becoming more often, more frequent. And so these are not our traditional tropical storm events, as some of our elected officials have said in front of television.
The stakes have never been higher. Aditi Rocha says it's time to act with urgency and dramatically reduce human emissions of heat-trapping gases spewing into our atmosphere to slow down the warming of our planet.
We don't need miracles. We don't need a silver bullets. We have the solutions. It's about scaling them with speed and intentionality. So that, to me, gives me tremendous hope.
By the way, an inch of floodwater can cause $25,000 in damage, according to FEMA, but that doesn't take into account the impacts absorbed by our wild spaces and waterways. You can help by not littering. That clogs up our storm drains, not using fertilizers on your lawns during the rainy season, and getting off septic tanks and connecting to sewer. All that contributes to these deadly nutrients that we see flow into the bay with devastating consequences.